Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. Pardon the fan noise in the background. The Pacific Northwest has remembered that it's summertime, so it's rather warm out here. So, some time ago, a month or two, a fellow offered me a RIA GI 9mm 1911 in trade. Sure, why not? And, of course, I can't leave anything alone. So, I have been mucking about with it. Now, this was originally a GI model, which isn't really a GI 1911A1. Among other things, it has a civilian-style safety, and it has a Clark Para-Ordnance ramped barrel, all to the good. But other than that, it looked pretty much stock GI. Round top slide, you know, the basic GI style grip safety, and the GI style spurred hammer, which is not quite correct because they've adjusted it so that it doesn't chew a hole in my hand. Thank you. Only took 100 years for someone to figure that out. But I decided, since I already have a couple of 9mm carry guns based on the 1911 platform, that this one should be a race gun. And budget's tight right now, so it was going to be a budget race gun. And some people have kindly sent me a few parts. I've actually managed to spring the cash for a few others. And it's a little different now. So let's go to the tabletop and see what we've got. So the gun as it arrived was RIA's GI-spec, which is not actually GI because it has the civilian type safety and it has a Clark Para-Ordnance style ramped full support barrel, which is all to the good. But other than that, it was basically pretty much GI. It had the standard grip safety, the standard short trigger, and like that. Perhaps the most obvious first change is the grips, which are Goncalo olive wood, stippled with a 2.5mm carbide ball to have an aggressive but not unpleasant texture. And, excuse me, I carved my son's revamped edition of the Maker's Mark I use on my custom knives on one side of the grip because why not? Immediate obvious changes are the long trigger, which was sent to me by a buddy when I announced this project. The beaver tail grip safety, and since this was a GI cut frame, I had to recontour the back of the frame and match it to the beaver tail grip safety. The stock hammer I bobbed. Since it wasn't chewing on me, that was more in the interests of it working and playing well with the grip safety and reducing the weight of the hammer. There are serrations cut in the top of the hammer, so it's still quite easy to use it in the conventional fashion. I also, two of the items I purchased were an ambidextrous grip safety and a side stop that incorporates a gas pedal, which really, really helps controlling recoil. And it does not lock back the slide on an empty magazine, but this is a competition pistol, so it really doesn't need to because I should be planning my reloads. You can still use it to manually lock to the slide to the rear, which is useful. So long trigger, beaver tail grip safety. I also blended the mainspring housing to the frame and then cut 20 line per inch checkering. I also added a magwell funnel, which is quite useful with the straight-walled magazines that 1911s use. I also undercut the trigger guard, cut more 20 line per inch checkering, and 20 line per inch checkering under the trigger guard, which again helps lock in the weak hand in rapid fire especially. Now, by professional standards, you are supposed to make neat little pyramids out of all of the checkering, and then send it back to where you want it. I'm not a professional. This isn't a gun for a customer. So I just stopped when they were right, rather than doing extra work and undoing it again. And I'm very happy with the grip. It's very, very firm, solid, secure grip without being abrasive and annoying. Now, other changes is I did a radical flat top on the slide. And then I did a tri-top by flattening out the curvature on the sides. This is all in the interest of removing reciprocating weight. I also cut in here to remove more weight, and then added serrations for press checks or operating the slide from the front. And of course, I cut a wonking big port in it. These sights, by the way, are placeholders. They're just there until I figure out what I want to do about the sights. But yes, this is cut through the slide, through the bushing, and then through the barrel. And it does significantly reduce muzzle flip and get the gun back on target faster for accurate rapid fire. I did not blend the sights to the frame because, frankly, they're not going to stay, and why do the work twice? I also, just as a cosmetic thing, flattened the crown of the barrel to the bushing and then re-crowned it. So the undercut trigger guard is basically set up really very much to my tastes. Why would I do anything else? And aside from the transfer fee on the gun, thanks to the generosity of 1911 fanatic friends, I've only spent about $60, $70 between these two parts, ambi grip safety and slide stop. I'm very happy with where it is right now, but I still need to sort out the sights. And I would like to do more work on the trigger, because the trigger breaks at about 3 pounds, very, very crisp. And there is just a hint of just that one little dink right there to let you know you're on the trigger before you pull the trigger. Now the reset I dinked with, and it is very, very short. In fact, the total travel on, once you've taken up that one little dink at the beginning, the total travel on the trigger is 15 thousandths of an inch, which is very short indeed. Yes, so that part is really good. I would like it lighter. My other 1911 competition pistol has a 1 3/4 pound trigger, and this one at 3 pounds is very nice, but, and frankly, it's probably already better than I can fully take advantage of. But I want to get it down closer to the other one. Tim Backus, noted competition shooter and gunsmith, says, if the trigger pull's heavier than the gun, you'll move the gun when you pull the trigger, or at least you're more likely to move the gun when you pull the trigger. And I can't fault the logic of that. And this sight picture with the placeholder sights is really pretty decent. But once I match this to the slide, it will be narrow, and again, this cobbled together aluminum sight I manufactured is just, it's okay, but I want to do better than okay. I have an Express Sights big dot around somewhere, and if I can find that, I may set up the sights to use that. But again, very happy with where we're at right now. And there's more to come. Of course, I have to get the sights sorted out, refinish the gun, which I'm going to do in gun coat, black gun coat, and maybe a little work on the trigger. I get a lot of commentary on social media like, you don't need to port a 9mm 1911, they're soft shooting enough already. You don't need to turn a car into a hot rod, and you don't do it because you need to. Sometimes it's just because you want to, and frankly, I haven't managed to get my ass to a shooting match in ages, and Lord only knows when I'll get myself to the next one, because half of my Saturdays across the entire summer are taken up with business. But if I ever manage it, I'm going to have the gun for it. And I really like the way it's come out, and of course I like to mess with things. And I love the 1911A1. It was a very, very fine service pistol when it was adopted 110 years ago. Frankly, though, by the time I was in the Army at the dawn of the 1980s, the best examples we had in the armory were at least 20 years past their sell-by date. Still have pretty good triggers, though. It's a 1911 thing. Anyway, so there's more to do. Very much a work in progress, but I thought I'd catch you up, and you're caught up. So if you liked the video, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Also, I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon, who are of inestimable value to this channel. Guns, ammo, reloading components, range memberships, everything costs money, and your contributions help more than you know. If you'd like to join my supporters on Patreon, there's a link in the description below. I'd also like to thank channel benefactors who have provided me with guns to shoot, show you, and talk about. Made donations of ammunition, occasionally parts for guns, and just all manner of other assistance. So thank you all very much. So, hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.